This is NDTV, and you're watching Classics.
Hello and welcome. One of the more dramatic fallouts of Parliament's vote on Gujarat was Omar Abdullah's offer to resign. Can a minister who disagrees with the government on Gujarat continue to represent it, especially in its foreign ministry? Was Omar Abdullah's resignation offer timed conveniently to his taking charge of the national conference? And if this resignation is accepted, what impact will it have on politics in Jammu and Kashmir? Omar, it's been more than 72 hours now since you offered to resign, and we haven't had a coherent response from the government. It's almost vague. Do you feel like your fate hangs in the balance at this point?
Well, yes, because I neither know this way nor that, though every indication that I have received is that they're not keen to let me go and the rest of it. But I haven't got a definite answer this way or that. And it's something that I'm waiting for. When
you say they're not keen to let you go, do you sort of include the entire BJP in that, or do you?
No, it's difficult to include the entire BJP because the state level BJP leadership
in Jammu and Kashmir,
yes, has been desperate to see me out, and they're putting, I believe, a lot of pressure.
But even in Delhi, a section of the party leadership itself is believed to feel that you need to be taught a lesson.
Well, this is hardly a lesson that they're going to teach me. I mean, what sort of lesson are they trying to teach me? I have abstained.
That it's cheeky. You've abstained and you're a minister.
I could have been a hell of a lot more cheeky. I could have not offered to resign. I could have not informed the government 4 days before of our intention to abstain. I could have gotten up and done a Saifuddin Soz and pretty much
at the last moment,
at the absolute last minute, and then been even cheekier and voted with the resolution. I mean, I think, given the compulsions and the fact that the National Conference had decided to abstain, I don't think we could have done it in a better way.
But isn't it true, though, that the suggestion that you should resign if your party was going to abstain came from the Prime Minister and not from you?
No, it did not. In fact, the Prime Minister had no idea we had decided to abstain until my father went to see him. When my father went to see him, he said that the National Conference has decided to abstain. In keeping with that, Omar is offering his resignation. Here is the letter for you. The Prime Minister said there's no need for this, aap isko rakh lijiye, but on your decision to abstain, please reconsider.
But at this point, this entire decision seems to hinge on a letter. Each time we call up the Prime Minister's office, we're told, unki taraf se to koi chithi hi nahi aayi.
That's because no letter was taken. On the day that I went to offer it, again on the 30th, the Prime Minister said, rakh lijiye, hum soch ke aapko bata denge. And I mean, I don't know why this confusion, because the Prime Minister's office is more important, or the Prime Minister? The Prime Minister giving, or rather talking to the press on that Maharashtra Day function, said कि अभी तक मैंने उमर अब्दुल्ला का इस्तीफा मंजूर नहीं किया है, अभी तक, which means it's still under consideration. If there was no letter and therefore nothing to discuss, he would have said मुझे तो उनके तरफ से इस्तीफा मिला नहीं है, इसलिए consider करने के लिए कुछ है नहीं.
Your sense from meeting the Prime Minister was that he does not want you to go?
I don't want to assume what the Prime Minister wants or doesn't want. I think that is a question that is best posed to the Prime Minister.
Let me put it to you differently. There are those who believe that if the National Conference actually felt so deeply about Gujarat, why didn't the party say something earlier? Why did you have to wait till the vote to make the point?
Well, we have been saying a lot. We have been saying within the state, we have been saying outside. The Chief Minister has been commenting on more than one occasion. My resignation was the result of the party deciding that a clearer message had to be sent on Gujarat. The best forum to send that message was during the discussion in Parliament, at which the National Conference, being a part of the government, would choose to abstain. As a result of the decision to abstain was my decision to submit my resignation. I don't play politics with an offer to resign.
But Omar, you've been not any ordinary minister. You've been minister in the foreign ministry, which means that for these past 2 months, you've had the awkward job of actually having to defend Gujarat to the various countries you visited.
Surprisingly enough, I haven't really. Gujarat has been a peripheral discussion subject wherein they have asked what is happening and I have told them. But at no point have I been called to defend what Narendra Modi and his government are being accused of doing in Gujarat.
Other countries have not brought up?
I've only visited about 3 countries actually since all this happened. One was Norway, one was Cyprus, and one was Iran. In Norway, it was a discussion because of their interest in human rights, and it was very much at the beginning of this problem starting. So I was able to tell them what we were doing in order to bring this situation under control. It's a similar thing for Iran. I suggested that we were deeply unhappy with the situation as it prevailed. We were not happy with the communal outbreak of violence in Gujarat, and that the center was putting all pressure and making all resources available to the state government as well to bring the situation under control. So I don't see how I have said anything as a minister that I could feel uncomfortable with. I haven't said that we don't have a problem with Gujarat. I haven't said that we're absolutely comfortable with what the state government has done there.
You haven't said that, but your ministry sort of speaks in a different voice. The Foreign Affairs spokeswoman speaks in a different voice. She basically believes that it's not the world's business at all.
Well, on that, I think I have even said in an interview or two that while it is an internal problem for India, I don't believe that we can go on the line that it is not the world's business. The world has an interest. India is a country that constitutes 1/6 of humanity. What happens in India is of interest, and to believe otherwise, I think, is incorrect.
But as MOS Foreign Affairs, you believe that, and your senior minister, your government may not. Isn't there a disconnect for you there?
These things happen in coalition politics, in governments like this, where you come from different ideologies, different backgrounds. There will be occasions wherein you don't fully agree.
But Omar, if there had not been a vote, if it hadn't come to this, if the speaker had ruled differently and there hadn't been, a motion under 184, does that mean that the National Conference would never have taken a position on
No,
Gujarat?
the National Conference would have continued to have taken a position and would have spoken out in Parliament, because that is the forum where we are authorized to.
But would you still have offered to resign if there were no vote? Let me clarify to you what I'm asking.
If my party, these are all hypothetical questions, right? But if my party had been authorized by the working committee to take a line that was significantly different from the government line, then yes. And if I had spoken up in Parliament rather than any of my other members of Parliament, then yes, I would have offered my resignation even under those circumstances.
You do not believe that it is actually the honourable, honest thing to do to resign from a government whose policy you do not agree with, at least on Gujarat?
Which is why I've done what I did.
You have abstained and offered to resign, which looks like you're actually trying to save the Prime Minister from embarrassment rather than taking a position of your own.
No, our position was taken. Look, there are many pros and cons that have to be weighed. Jammu and Kashmir as a state is unique in India for any number of reasons. We have our own problems with what the minorities have to face there. The fact of the conditions of the Kashmiri Pandit refugees and the situation that they find themselves in. The other refugees that have had to move on account of what Pakistan has perpetrated there. While some have sought this also to be discussed alongside Gujarat, we believe differently.
But do you believe that having taken the decision to abstain, you could comfortably continue in the ministry that you currently hold? Forget the Prime Minister's decision for a moment, if it were left to you.
My feelings, my thoughts are known. Where I disagree with my ministry, where I agree with my ministry. I have not hidden these facts. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, my offer to resign is also there. If my position, and the way I have expressed it both on the floor of the House and outside, is so significantly different from the position that the government likes to project, then they're welcome to accept my resignation.
But in less than 3 weeks, as you mentioned, you do take charge of the National Conference in the state. Some would turn around and say this is perfectly timed. You've done this because you may be packing your bags and leaving for Srinagar anyway.
Why would you assume that taking over as the President of National Conference automatically means that I have to leave from the Government of India?
Do you have time for both?
Why not?
Aren't they both full-time jobs, as you have said several times in the past, that
you
need to do justice to both?
There is a difference between the Ministry of External Affairs as a full-time job and another ministry in the Government of India. I have seen n number of ministers who have managed to hold not regional parties but almost national parties as their party leadership and still continue to function as a minister in Delhi. I have said that the Ministry of External Affairs, and particularly my position as Minister of State for External Affairs, would make it difficult for me to manage both jobs, because I have, forget about less time in Srinagar, I have less time in India than I would like. But don't automatically assume that because I'm taking over as president of the National Conference, that I don't have time to remain at the government in Delhi.
But if taking over as president of the National Conference meant that you were the chief ministerial candidate in the elections that are to take place around September, October, surely you could not keep a foot in either world simultaneously.
Why? Who's to say that I could not be president of the National Conference? How long is the campaign period? 3 weeks?
Yeah.
So why would it not be possible for me to campaign as a minister in the government of India? National Conference wins. We have a majority. The legislative party decides that I will be the chief ministerial candidate, and then I resign from my ministry in Delhi and take over the party and the government.